Hi students, welcome to your biology class. Hope all of you have gone through the chapter we covered yesterday. You may be wondering why teacher have took that chapter so fastly and just given you a task, right? It is because for the time being we are just skipping that chapter. We are just summarizing and learning that chapter. But don't forget to do the homework which I have given you to collect the names of 5 extinct and endangered animals. Hope you will do that task and upload. And I want all of you to do the work and upload, not just one or two of you, okay? So in today's class, we are going to start a new chapter. And for that, I want all of you to think. Just look around you and just name the things what you see. Yes, there may be books, there may be pen, a computer or a mobile. You may be sitting on a chair, you may be having a few furnitures nearby, and your parents may be sitting near you, and there may be some organisms like houseflies and mosquitoes, etc. And when you just look outside your home through the windows, you can see a lot of plants, trees, animals, etc. Right? So the things around you, you can categorize them. How can you categorize the things around you? How can you categorize? Yes, as living and non-living things, right? As living things and non-living things. Non-living. So, as living things and non-living things, you can categorize the things around you, right? Yes, so what are non-living things around you? Yes, air, water, soil, chairs, and all the furniture, and all those things that doesn't shows the property of a living thing comes under non-living things, right? Now, what are living things? Living things shows certain basic characters like respiration, digestion, excretion, reproduction, and they can move from one place to other, and also this shows a very important character called growth. So this all comes under the characteristics of living beings, that is growth and reproduction, respiration, digestion, excretion, movement, etc. And we know our earth has both living and non-living things. So the major categories that comes under living things are animals, plants, microorganisms. And all these living things look different, isn't it? Some of them we can see through our eyes, and few of them we have learned in the previous chapters. Few of them are microscopic. Now, how many of you have seen the construction of a building or a house? Yes, few of you may have seen. And there you may have noticed the buildings are made of building blocks or bricks. Likewise, all living organisms are made up of a unit called cell. So what is a cell? A cell is a single basic unit of a living organism. So a cell is a single basic functional biological unit of an organism. That means plants, animals and microorganisms. So in this chapter what we are going to learn is all about a cell. Now I just told you the basic unit of an organism is called cell. So each one of us are made up of numerous cells, right? Cells cannot be seen through naked eyes, and the instrument used to watch, to observe the cell is called a microscope. Microscopes are used to observe the cells and also study about the cells. So today to our class I have brought a microscope from our lab. So have you seen this instrument before? We also do have few microscope in our laboratory. Now I will tell you a story which lead to the invention of microscopes. Microscope is discovered by an English scientist called Robert Hooke. Robert Hooke. Robert Hooke during 1665 was sitting in his laboratory. There he saw wooden cork. This cork is a part of bark of a tree. When he found this wooden cork, he just sliced it into small pieces and he just observed it under self-designed microscope. He was shocked to see what he found inside the microscope. The figure in your textbook 8.1 B is what he saw through the microscope, that is cork cells, and A was the microscope, that crude microscope which used by Robert Hooke in order to see this cork cells. Till that day the world was unknown about the fact cells. So Robert Hooke observed a honeycomb like compartments in the cork observed through microscope. So the Robert Hooke coined those compartments as cell. After 150 years of Robert Hooke's discovery, the advanced microscope was invented and further studies of cell was conducted. The cells which cannot be seen by the naked eyes, such as animal cells, plant cells and the cells of the microorganisms, are seen through microscope. And this is a compound microscope which we use in our labs. Figure 8.2 in your textbook shows the parts of a compound microscope. Now I will show you the parts of a compound microscope. The magnification power of a compound microscope ranges from 100 to 1500 times than the naked eyes. So students, this is a compound microscope. It is having two lenses in this. That is, one is 810x, that is 10 magnification lens, which is in the eyepiece. Now here you can see two lenses. One is of 10 magnification, other one is of 45x, that is 45 magnification. And below you can see a mirror which we can adjust the light, and also there is a lens here so that the light will enter directly to the specimen. This is the foot of a microscope. This mirror is called reflector. This lens which catches the light is called condenser. This area is called the stage of a microscope. This is where we keep the cell or the specimen to be observed through this microscope. So when you keep the specimen, you will clip the specimen with stage clips, and you can adjust the length to the specimen, and you have to focus by adjusting knobs. There are two knobs. This is core adjusting knob and this is fine adjustment knob. So after stripping the specimen here, you can see the specimen through this ocular lens. So that is what compound microscope is. And students, once you come to the class, I will show you cell and specimens through this compound microscope. Now as the inventions increases, more advanced microscopes like electron microscopes, which are used for observing internal parts of a cell. We know the cells are so minute, and the external parts of the cell we can observe through this compound microscope, but the internal parts of the cell we cannot watch, we cannot observe through this compound microscope. For that we need much advanced microscopes called electron microscopes. In compound microscope, I have shown you how this light is adjusted. So light is used in compound microscope to view the specimen, whereas in electron microscope, instead of light, electrons are used. Magnification power of an electron microscope is much higher than a compound microscope. So you have understood that we can see the cells through microscope. These cells are transparent or colorless, so it's hard to observe through the microscope. To observe the cells and its structure, we use stains or dyes. What these dyes or the stains do is they color the cells. That means they color the transparent cell and the organelles. The most commonly used stains are safranin stain and also methyl blue stain. So I have brought those stains to your classroom, and let's see how the stains are. I don't know whether you can see the color change. The safranin stain is having, and see what is the color of the safranin dye. It's having a pink color. and the methyl blue is having a blue color. So for what the stains are used? The stains are used to give color or to dye the cells. Students, in today's class we have learned about cells, have learned about microscopes, and we have learned about dyes. And this is an intro to a new chapter, that is cell structure and functions. See you in next class. Thank you.